All right, let's dive right into one of the most baffling statements in the entire Bible. We're talking about a leader at the very end of an incredible 40-year journey who turns to his people and says something that at first glance just makes no sense at all. So, let's get into it. And there it is. That's Moses, the guy who led the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt, saying this to them right before they're about to enter the Promised Land. Now, just try to wrap your head around this. These are the very people who literally saw the Red Sea split in two. They ate food that fell from the sky. So you have to ask yourself, why on earth would their leader tell them they can't see, hear, or understand? What is really going on here? To even begin to solve this puzzle, we have to rewind. We've got to understand the absolutely epic journey that led them to this moment. Because honestly, for this statement to make any kind of sense, you first have to appreciate what these people lived through. I mean, the sheer scale of this is just staggering. This wasn't some one-off miracle that they talked about for years. No, for 40 straight years, their entire daily existence was basically supernatural. From that dramatic escape from Egypt, to food literally appearing out of nowhere every single day, to defeating powerful armies against impossible odds. They saw it all with their own two eyes, which of course just makes what Moses says even more confusing. Okay, so if looking at their history of nonstop miracles only makes the statement weirder, then the clue has to be hidden in the specific words Moses chose. It becomes pretty clear he's not talking about the five senses, he's getting at something much, much deeper. This right here is the core of the whole mystery. They physically witnessed it all. We know that. So what kind of seeing and hearing were they missing out on? It's obvious Moses is drawing a big, bold line between two very different kinds of perception. And this is where it all starts to click. For Moses, having eyes that can see a miracle just isn't the same thing as perceiving God's purpose behind that miracle. Having ears that can hear a command is totally different from truly accepting that command into your life. You know, it's kind of like hearing the individual notes of a song versus actually feeling the emotion of the music. The Israelites heard all the notes, loud and clear, but Moses is saying they completely missed the music. And when he brings up the heart, he's not talking about the organ pumping blood. In this ancient way of thinking, the heart is your command center. It's the hub of your will, your decision-making, your true inner self. What he's really saying is that the truth of all their experiences never made it from their eyeballs and their eardrums into their core where it would actually change who they were and how they lived. So once we get this huge difference between just seeing something and actually perceiving its meaning, the entire message snaps into focus around one central idea. And here it is. This is the big takeaway. You can be a spectator to the most incredible events in history and still completely miss the point. There is a massive difference between witnessing something and truly understanding it. Let's just break that down a bit. The Israelites had front row seats to the greatest show on earth. They had the experience for sure, but what they were missing was the spiritual comprehension to process what it all meant. They saw the what, but they never grasped the why. And this is key. Moses frames this deeper level of understanding not as something they failed at, but as a gift they had not yet been given by God. But this raises one last, really important question. Why say this now? Of all the times, why deliver this incredibly harsh-sounding message at this exact moment? Well, it turns out it wasn't just a random complaint. It was actually a very strategic message with a clear three-part purpose. I mean, think about the timing here. They are on the absolute brink of achieving their ultimate goal. Morale should be through the roof, so why would you hit them with such a heavy critique right at this moment? What was he trying to accomplish? He actually had three distinct goals in mind. His message was a rebuke for their past, an explanation for their struggles, and, maybe surprisingly, an encouragement for their future, all rolled into one. Let's take a quick look at each one. So first, yeah, it was a rebuke, a serious wake-up call. Moses had to be brutally honest with them about their track record. For 40 years, they'd shown this spiritual dullness, always complaining, always disobeying, despite everything they'd seen. This was his final, sharp critique of that failure. Second, it was an explanation.
His statement finally answered the question that they must have all been wondering. If God is so powerful and on our side, why have we struggled and failed so many times? And Moses gives them the answer. It's because you never truly let what you saw sink in. It explained their entire troubled history in the desert.
And finally, and this is probably the most important part, it was an encouragement. By saying the Lord has not yet given you this understanding, Moses leaves the door wide open for the future. It's a prompt, it's a challenge for them to stop being passive spectators and to start actively seeking this deeper spiritual insight as they head into this brand new chapter. In the end, this whole message from Moses really changes how you might think about knowledge itself. It suggests that the deepest, most important insights aren't things we just figure out by observing, but that they're gifts we have to be ready to receive. And that leaves all of us with a pretty big question. If true understanding is a gift, what does it take to open it?